Okay, today we are going to be making about, I would say 75% of this tassel, and then the final steps of the tassel will come on the day that we dye things. So at the end of today, you're not gonna probably like the look of your tassel, but that's okay because we will finish it out when we are going to be dyeing, okay? So you're gonna pull out this bag, and it's the bag with the one piece of rope, but make sure that it's not the one with the bead with the little stripes on it and the big wad of cord. So that's for your rainbow. This one's going to have a needle that's going to be pushed into your felt ball, so be really careful about that to not poke yourself. Then you're gonna have a wood bead and you're gonna have some string. A couple things, make sure that you hang on to your drawstring bag because we're gonna be dyeing these down the road. So for this piece of rope, we are going to go ahead and unwind it, unlike the rainbow one. So don't unwind both of your pieces of rope. Keep the rainbow one fully wound up. This one is different. So go ahead and unwind it. And then once you have them unwound, lay them down and line them up so that the ends meet. And then you're gonna fold it in half and you're gonna cut it in half, okay? So you're gonna make sure those are all lined up, and then you're gonna take your scissors and you're gonna cut that. So now you have 6 pieces. Okay, you're gonna take one of your 6 pieces and you're going to unwind it. So all you have to do is take it and with both your hands kind of just go the opposite direction of the way it's wound up until you kind of get to where you can see it straightening out. And then I just need you to take it and kind of break it in half and then take this, like you can use the lesser thickness, the lesser thick half, and put this aside. We're gonna be using this piece on the dip dye day. So we won't need this. You can actually put this back in your drawstring bag and hang on to this. Do not lose it, we will need it. This is going to be this part when we wrap this, okay? So line that back up and then take all 6 pieces and do the same exact thing. So we're gonna take it and we're going to, while holding on to both sides, kind of like tug of war, we're gonna be taking our fingers and kind of like running it through. It'll get kind of tangled. So just be really careful that we're trying to keep obviously the ends together. So I'm just unwinding it. Once I get to this point where I think it's kind of like straight, while holding one end, I'll take this hand and I'll try to run my fingers through. And then I'll take my other hand and I'll try to run my fingers through. But really the key here is to try to keep, now this is okay, this is gonna get worked out later, but the main thing is to kind of keep this all about the same. It does not have to be perfect. So do that with all 4. So now you need to grab your piece of string and you need to fold it in half. So have the ends meet and then you have a loop side. Take the loop side and find the center of this clump of rope, okay? The very center. And you're gonna take that center and pinch it together. You can use one hand, 2 hands, pinch it together, and you're going to lay the loop over top, and you're gonna pull it under, and you're gonna make a little loop knot. And pull those 2 tails through and pull it tight. Okay, let me do that one more time to show you because that was kind of awkward. So you're going to fold that in half, take the loop side, the very center, you're going to pinch it, and you're going to put the loop over top, and then you're going to pull these through that loop like that. And then you're going to kind of just teeter it back and forth and make sure it's really tight. And then you can fold this in half, and while you're doing that, make sure that your ends are approximately meeting. So for instance, we've got this little piece right here, which is clearly much shorter than the rest of these. So that's okay, because in the end, this is actually, once it gets really brushed out, it's going to be trimmed probably even to there. So it doesn't really matter if it's just that much of a difference. Now, if you've got some pulled all the way up here, you really want to take it and kind of very carefully straighten it out. So you could kind of see when I pulled that, this long piece came up. So it really helped to even it out. So as of right now, this is what it should look like. And you can continue to kind of brush through it if you want. It's gonna get much more brushed out once we get it wet and we dye it in a couple of days. But you can kind of go through and take some of the twisted pieces and work it with your fingers. You can also take it and make sure this is really, really tight right here. And you can kind of pinch it right here and give it a good shake. That kind of helps to shake some of those pieces a little bit looser too. And then if you have like a brush on hand, see, like this one is pretty, I want to get those pieces separated. So I'm going to just take my fingers and really brush it out. You can also use a brush to kind of brush some of that out, but be careful when you brush it, because it looks like I already pulled something a little bit too short. So it was this piece right here. So you want to be careful. So you can tell that when I pull this is gonna even back out. Maybe it was a different piece. Okay, but you want to make sure that when you're brushing it, nothing is getting too tangled in your brush. So you're really just very lightly brushing it. But again, right now, it doesn't really matter. I would just try to get it to about this, the look of this, because eventually once we dip dye it and everything, we will get it smooth like this. But right now it's not going to be this smooth. It's going to be more like this. Okay. So don't worry about how this looks. Don't worry about trimming any of this right now. This will be trimmed in a couple of days when we come back to it. So right now we're going to string the needle. Okay, so take your needle, take the two ends of your string, and first I like to take my thumb and kind of like fringe out this string so that I can really pinch it flat. Sometimes I like to lick my fingers and make sure it's super pushed together. And then I'll take my scissors and I'm gonna just cut a super straight line. And then I'm gonna take my needle, and while I'm pinching right here on this hand, I'm going to line up the hole of the needle, the eye of the needle, and I'm gonna kind of just back and forth shimmy those pieces in. Sometimes it takes a few tries, so if that's you, don't feel bad. Sometimes I also like to just put it in my mouth and just kind of bite it down flat. So you can see how flat that is. Again, this takes a few times, so don't feel bad if you can't get it. Okay, so once you get that through, you really don't have to pull it too far in. That's just enough, that's plenty. Once you get it in, and if you're having problems getting both in at the same time, try one string at a time. that helps too. Take your felt ball and you're going to push it through the center, kind of like you're making a bead. And you're going to look straight down, and if it seems, so it seems a little uncentered to me, so I'm gonna redo it. And that seems, these felt balls are all different shapes and sizes, they're handmade, so, but that looks pretty good to me. So now, this is where your pliers are gonna come in hand. Don't mind my old and rusty pliers, but you're just gonna take it, but you wanna make sure that you're not pinching that tip because you need this needle for your rainbow. So just pinch right here, and don't pinch too hard. You don't wanna break your needle, but I just kind of go back and forth with both hands. And this takes a little muscle and sometimes just a couple different times. But if you just take it, go back and forth, eventually it'll just pull right through. Then you wanna take your needle and just string your wood bead directly through. Pull it all the way up. You can take your needle off. And now that you're here, you're just going to push down. So you want this to be very tight. You want this to be as pushed down and tight, hugging this spot as possible. So while you're holding it down with your left hand or whatever hand you are, I'm going to take this string and I'm going to make a knot. And before I pull it tight, I am continuing to make sure that this is pulled, okay? And I'm just pushing this down and I'm making it tight as I'm not doing it too fast. I'm going super slow and I'm making the knot hug the wood bead, just like that, okay? Okay, if you were having trouble with that other knot, or if you can't get it, if your knot's ending up here and you just can't get it tight enough, then you can just take the two pieces and just make two knots. So just tie it one and then make a double knot over that one. And then that's all you'll need to do when you want to like hang it, like say on your rear view mirror. And you've got it, that works just as well. Okay, so now we have a very weird looking tassel that we are not going to be doing anything else with today. So at this point, you can trim it a little bit if you want, just, I don't know, for looks purposes, but you don't need to. If you want to, you can kind of just trim off the bottom. Don't trim too much right now. But right now, this is all your tassel should look like. And then when we come back to it, it'll end up looking like this. Don't worry.